it that John Hyatt sang, "Have a little faith in me." And then, of course, Journey came along and said, "I'm forever yours, faithfully." But do we really need to find faith? It's June 26th, 2005, and I was laying underneath the surface of the water without breath, looking up at the blue sky above. As I lay there, no part of my life passed before my eyes as though it does in the movies. I don't recall having a conversation with God or leaning on my faith in any way whatsoever. So let me rewind 5 minutes in that story. I had just completed and put together a corporate training for about 50 of my colleagues, and we were at the Izades Resort in Brainerd, Minnesota. We spent the day on team building exercises, people laughing and joining each other in golf course and out on the boats, and we had gathered back at the end of the day for a happy hour around the side of a pool. A colleague of mine thought it would be really funny to pick me up, I'm a little guy, and throw me in that pool. Now you fast forward 15 seconds, and I am in the arms of a 330-pound man, and we're running toward that pool. Fully clothed, I pleaded for him to stop. I clenched around his neck and asked him to stop. And once I knew that he wouldn't cease, I just prepared myself for the rush of cold water that was about to envelop me. I expected the cold. What I did not expect was that he would trip 5 feet from the edge of that pool and smash down with my back half in and half out of that pool, and then topple us both into the water. I didn't expect to be knocked out. I didn't expect to be lifeless underwater for even just a fair few moments until he gathered me up. I didn't think of my young family. I didn't think of how this would affect them. I didn't really feel anything at all, really. In fact, when I was pulled up from the pool by the man who had fairly violently put me there, my first words were actually to my boss, who stood poolside with a shocked look on her face. And I reached in my pocket and handed her my wallet and said, "I'm so sorry, boss, but my corporate credit card receipts are all wet." So as we bobbed around in the pool, my coworker kind of holding me upright, I was becoming more aware of the injuries that I'd sustained and the searing pain that was in my spine. And I remember thinking that life was about to get really hard for me. But how would I be able to make it through this on my own, alone? And would I be able to get out of this pool and walk? Would I have to have a surgery or 2 or 3? Would I continue to work to support my family? Would I be able to have a family? Would I be able to play sports? Would me, alone? Now, I'm not dismissing the wonderful support that I received from Carrie. She was with me the entire time, step by step, hand to hand. And I'm forever thankful for that. The alone that I'm talking about is the time that I spent wandering in thought, delegating the pain and the fear of how I would take care of everyone. How would I provide for the family that Carrie and I wanted to have? For Carrie and for our kids to come. How would I do this, injured and alone? Pain is really hard when you're alone. And fear is really hard when you're alone. And negativity is super hard when you're alone. Now, can you imagine how all of those moments would have been different with a stronger faith? So I liken it to our readings, and I see this similarity to baptism. I was immersed in water. I was reborn again in the love of Christ, but to me, just as when I was a newborn, I was completely unaware of that power that had washed over and around and through me. I was unaware of what was sustaining me. I was unaware of what was guiding me and comforting me. So what sustains us in the good times and the bad before we find our faith? I think about my brother James's cancer battle. I think about the extremely scary and difficult birth of Soren. I think about the day I finally had that spinal implant surgery. I think about Sky's birth. I think about my grandma's passing. And And I think about this loss of my beautiful mother-in-law to cancer. And I put it on my shoulders. And I didn't look to faith for a helping hand or a supportive word. I didn't give my burdens to God. I didn't ask for anything. And I wasn't searching for anything. In Luke's gospel today, Jesus said, "Everyone who searches finds, and for everyone who knocks, the door will be opened." But I wasn't searching, and I wasn't knocking. And yet it was given, silently and supportively, while I wasn't looking, while I wasn't knocking, and while I'd convinced my self-centered self that I actually got through all of that alone. Until I found my faith, I actually believed I had gotten through every one of those things by myself, alone. This world that we live in is full of really cool sayings. And one of my favorites is about skydiving. You do not need a parachute to go skydiving. You need a parachute to go skydiving twice. You see, faith, like that parachute, is there for us. It's there for each and every one of us every day. And you don't have to recognize it if you don't want. When you jump out of an airplane, as I have, the wind and the rush and the view, that's what captivates your mind. And you don't really think about the parachute until you're ready to pull that cord. And then for just the briefest of moments, you pray. And then you pull the cord. And then everything goes right. And you immediately return to the view and the wind and the rush. But just like that parachute, faith was with me the whole time. So the funny thing about this unrecognized lifelong journey I've had with faith is how I actually kind of figured it out. And it was just outside on the lawn. Of all the miracles I'm surrounded by every day, it took a pint of beer, a man on stilts, and a juggling priest to light the fire within me. I started to find my faith and figure out that it was right there all day, every day, beside and behind me, above and below me, and most importantly, inside me. So I think faith provides us with tools when we finally find it in our own hearts. I'm still a pretty overcommitted corporate employee that I was 15 years ago. But faith led me to my friend Ben. He's a coffee pal, and I meet him on occasional mornings. He's a Gulf War veteran and a former military chaplain, and he introduced me to a way to incorporate technology and faith together in the form of a Bible app. His challenge to me is to open that app and read one verse of the Bible before any other part of the day comes to me. So that peaceful moment, in time before my feet hit the floor in the brisk morning air, that moment, as brief as it is, it prepares me for all the day's challenges, and it steadies my faith. Faith certainly led me here to Ascension, to a deep, deep trust in Buff. And I want to share a really beautiful prayer that Buff taught me. It's from Thomas Merton. "My Lord God, I have no idea where I'm going. It really is all about faith. Faith led me to a relationship with many of you, to a deeper bond with Carrie, to a rekindled love of music and especially food. Faith leads me to be a better parent to Soren, Skylar, and sweet little Mary. Faith does this because I found it, right there, sitting inside me, waiting to be found. When did I find it? When will you, or when did you find faith? It doesn't really matter, because it'll be right there waiting for you.